Senate will now come to order. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court presides. We convene today for the trial of the impeachment of Dallas Dufockle, President of the American Gaming Group, as transmitted by the House of Representatives. The clerk will read the articles of impeachment as adopted by the House of Representatives.
The articles of impeachment against President Dallas Dufockle goes as follows. Article 1 is failure to discharge the duties of the office. Section 1 states that whereas the Constitution and the laws of the American Gaming Group entrust the President with the obligation to execute faithfully the responsibilities of the office and uphold the stability of the government operations and ensure the prosperity of the community. Section 2 states, whereas President Dallas Dufockle has, during his tenure, failed to complete the standard and customary responsibilities of the office of the President, including but not limited to regular engagement in executive leadership duties, oversight and coordination of ongoing projects, maintenance of governmental order and activity. Section 3 states, therefore, President Dufockle's conduct and has demonstrated a willful neglect of the office duties and failure to act in the best interest of the people. Article 2 is neglect of the American Gaming Group. Section 1 states, whereas the American Gaming Group community relies upon its president to preserve and promote active participation, community events, and regular engagement. Section 2 states, whereas President Dufockle has permitted activity within the American Gaming Group to cease almost entirely, resulting in the collapse of interaction, morale, and public trust. Section 3 states that this neglect has caused measurable harm to the social and governmental vitality of the American Gaming Group, thereby breaching the President's oath to serve and protect the community's well-being. Article 3, dereliction. Section 1 states, whereas the President is duty-bound to remain responsible or accessible to both the people and other government officials for the purpose of communication, coordination, and responsiveness. Section 2, whereas President Dufockle has repeatedly ignored attempts from citizens and officials to reach out for dialogue, guidance, or assistance in governance. Section 3, such inaction and disregard for the community have obstructed the functioning of the government, undermined the collaboration among officials, and eroded confidence in the presidency. That is all, Your Honor.
Thank you. The senators will rise to take the oath required for the trial of impeachment. All senators, please rise. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. Do you solemnly swear that in all things appertaining to the trial of the impeachment of President Dallas Dufockle, you will do impartial justice according to the Constitution and laws of the American Gaming Group? So help you God. Thank you, Senators. The senators are now sworn in. Please be seated. The chair recognizes that a quorum of senators is present. The trial may proceed. We'll start with the opening statements. The House Manager will now present their opening statement. Mr. Peter, please come to the podium and present your opening statements to the court.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I present to you a disappointed leader, a leader that has not only betrayed all of our trust, but the enjoyment of the community. As I was just stated, Dallas has broken the crimes of failure to fulfill the duties of presidency, neglecting the community's vitality and well-being, and dereliction of duty through refusal to communicate. We ask at this moment that this calls for an impeachment on President Dallas Dufockle, for his actions have caused a great hole in the community that will take a lot of time, energy, and effort to fill back in. And we believe that our community should not be run by such an incompetent leader such as this. Thank you.
Thank you. The counsel for President Dallas Dufockle will now present the opening statement in regards to the defense. Mr. President, please come to the podium and present your defense. I'll make sure you unmute yourself there.
Yeah. I thought I was for a minute. So I know I haven't been the best president of AGG with my 92% disapproval rating. Now I know I haven't been active, and that's entirely my fault. There was really nobody to blame on that except for myself. Just out of basically laziness. There's not much I could really say outside of I haven't done what I promised or what I've said. I'm not sure what else to say.
Thank you, Mr. Dufockle. We'll now move into the presentation of evidence. Starting with the House managers, you may proceed with the presentation of evidence against the defense. And when you present the evidence, please be specific as to what you want the court and those viewing to look at. Please come up to the podium as well.
Thank you, Chronicles. So the evidence that I've gathered for this case show a big, what can I say for this? Uneducated information on how to become a leader. One evidence that I have gathered is that our former president, Mark, he said on the 7th of August at 7:41 p.m. if we're going to have any training today. Then that was followed up by a message approximately 2 hours ago on the same day, repeating if we're going to have training.
Which picture is this in the evidence? So I know where I'm looking. Is it your pictures that you presented, or is it?
It's the one I just sent. Do you see it?
8 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one on the right. Followed by 2 hours later, Mark retaliates that, asking again if we were going to have training that day. He did not respond. Only later in that day, at 1:38 a.m., still no response from our president, Dallas Dufockle. And after all those hours, the only thing that has been said was from our dear friend Mason, saying that he has made a critical mistake for voting for Dallas Dufockle. If you remember, it was a very close election, and he believes that it was a big mistake letting Dallas win the election. And I present more evidence now.
You may proceed.
And the other piece of evidence that I have collected was on the 17th of August at 7:50. Multiple people have collected this as evidence because it is a prime piece of evidence, I would say. Dallas is responding to Mark, saying that, commenting that he's very busy. And President Dufockle responds with a paragraph complaining that the community is a waste of time, and he is very ticked off at the situation he is in, saying that he does not have time.
You have permission to read it verbatim.
The whole thing?
Yes.
So Dallas Dufockle says, quote, "So you just want me to be up all hours of the day doing stuff just to get some brownie points on the internet I'm not going to be risking being up for 20 to 22 hours a day for a community when my job is to carry car parts all day, while also answering a phone and answering customers' questions in a building that has not had heat all fucking summer. And he apologizes, saying that he is not working in a building that has AC. So it's a long message, but the key idea I take away from this is that Dallas says that he does not have the time and energy to maintain his life outside of AGG and the present of AGG. And that eventually led him to crash out and say that he does not believe that he is viable as a president for the AGG community. And that's all I present for my evidence. Thank you.
All right. The defense, you may come up and present your evidence, if any, and if not, you may present a rebuttal to the evidence produced by the House.
Okay, so I don't have any evidence to present. The only thing I would just want to add is that yes, I did have a valid crash out just because I think at the time it's just that I think I may have been overwhelmed with I think just work at the time, and then just kind of being kind of questioned, and I just didn't just didn't know how to like express it without basically crashing out on Mark. And I do apologize to Mark for basically crashing out, and I just didn't mean to, without really just taking a deep breath and thinking before saying anything.
Okay. Does the House have any witnesses that they'd like to call to the stand? You may also call the President to the stand if you would like to ask questions.
No, we do not, sir.
Does the House wish to call the President to the stand at all?
No, thank you.
Okay. The counsel for the President may now cross-examine any witnesses. Does the defense have any witnesses that they'd like to call up to the stand?
I do not.
Alrighty. The Senate will now proceed to the questioning period. Senators wishing to pose questions may submit them in writing to the chair. Alright, we have no questions so far from the Senate. I'm just going to wait here for a second. All right. The House Manager may now come back up to the stand and present his closing argument.
Thank you, Mr. Knuckles. So, as I have objectively displayed to you in this court, shows that Dallas is a very incompetent leader, and he did not do his research before he became president. He underestimated the burden and the difficulty balancing his life and the AGG president's life, what I would say. And we firmly believe that AGG would be far, far better off with a different leader than Dallas Dufockle. Thank you.
The defense, President Dallas Dufockle, will now present their closing arguments. Please come up to the podium.
Okay, so for my closing statement, all I have to say is that I agree with the council that basically I didn't do my research before hopping into the election before I had stepped into the seat. Really, any of that. I'm well, man. I'm not really suitable for like really any position really in AGG. Outside just really being maybe a judge, which I currently am. But outside the judge seat, I not really am capable of really running any office or really anything.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dufockle. We kind of just had that with the closing statements and the arguments, but I will offer another opportunity for final statements. Does the House in the defense have any other brief final statements before the Senate retires to deliberate?
No, we do not, sir.
Does the defense have any brief final statements?
I do not.
All right. The Senate will now deliberate on the articles of impeachment. The chair reminds senators to maintain order and impartiality during these proceedings. So we are going to go into a 15-minute recess and allow the Senate to deliberate and also vote. Before we go into recess, I will say this for the Senate. The Senate will now vote on the articles of impeachment one by one. A conviction requires the concurrence of two-thirds of the senators present. So a conviction requires 67 votes in the Senate. Each article of impeachment will be voted on separately. If there is a conviction on at least one, I believe, let me check in with my fellow Justice Vikrama. Hold on one second. Okay, yeah, so I will say this before we go into recess. I'll also remind everybody when the verdict is given, before it's given. If Dallas Dufockle is convicted of one article, on this article, two-thirds of the senators present having pronounced President Dallas Dufockle guilty, he'll be hereby convicted. Therefore, it will be the judgment of the Senate that Dallas Dufockle be removed from office of the President of American Gaming Group effective immediately. If the President is acquitted, and I'll read this on each different article, whether he's convicted or acquitted. On this article, two-thirds of the senators present not having voted guilty, President Dallas Dufockle is hereby acquitted of this charge. After the charges have been read in the verdicts, I will call for adjournment once the trial has concluded. Does the House or the defense have any questions before we go into recess?
I do not.
Are we allowed to conversate with anyone else during the recess period?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, I now call this trial into recess for 15 minutes. All right, welcome back. I now call the court back into session. The Senate has voted on each article. I will once again ask the clerk to read the first article, that being Article 1.
Yes, Your Honor. Let me just pull it back up here real quick. My apologies. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as stated, Article 1 is failure to discharge the duties of the office. Your Honor, do you want me to read the sections as well? Yes, sir. Section 1 states, whereas the Constitution and the laws of the American Gaming Group entrust the President with the obligation to execute faithfully the responsibilities of the office, uphold the stability of the government operations, and ensure the prosperity of the community. Section 2 follows, whereas President Dufockle, Dallas Dufockle, has during his tenure failed to complete the standard and customary responsibilities of the office of the President, including but not limited to regular engagement in executive leadership duties, oversight and coordination of ongoing projects, maintenance of governmental order and activity. And Section 3 follows, therefore, President Dufockle's conduct has demonstrated a willful neglect of the office of the duties and failure to act in the best interest of the people. That is Article 1, Your Honor.
Thank you. I will now read off the verdict that the Senate has found on Article 1 of the impeachment trials as read by our clerk. On this article, 2/3 of the senators present not having voted guilty, President Dallas Dufockle is hereby acquitted of Article 1.
Yes!
Clerk, you may proceed with Article 2 of the impeachment files.
Yes, Your Honor. Article 2, neglect of the American Gaming Group. Section 1 states, whereas the American Gaming Group community relies upon its president to preserve and promote active participation, community events, and regular engagement. Section 2 follows, whereas President Dufockle has permitted activity within the American Gaming Group to cease almost entirely, resulting in the collapse of interaction, morale, and public trust. This neglect has caused measurable harm to the social and governmental vitality of the American Gaming Group, and thereby breaching the President's oath to serve and protect the community's well-being. That is Article 2, Your Honor.
Thank you. I forgot to mention the Senate voted for Article 1 with only 47 votes, not meeting 2/3 needed for conviction. Now I will read the verdict for Article 2. On this article, 2/3 of the senators present, having pronounced Dallas Dufockle guilty, he is hereby convicted.
Yes!
Therefore, it is the judgment of this Senate that Dallas Dufockle be removed from the office of President of the American Gaming Group effective immediately.
Yes!
Clerk, you may now proceed with Article 3 after I tell you the amount of votes. The amount of votes for Article 2 was 88 votes. You may proceed with Article 3.
Yes, Your Honor. Article 3, Dear Election. Section 1 states, whereas the President is duty-bound to remain accessible to both the people and other government officials for the purpose of communication, coordination, and responsiveness. Section 2 follows, whereas President Dufockle has repeatedly ignored attempts from citizens and officials to reach out for dialogue, guidance, or assistance in governance. Therefore, such inaction and disregard for communication have obstructed the functioning of the government and undermined collaboration among officials and eroded confidence in the presidency. That's Article 3, Your Honor.
Thank you. I will now proceed to read the verdict for Article 3. On this article, 2/3 of the senators present not having voted guilty, President Dallas Dufockle is hereby acquitted of this charge.
Yes!
So, with that being said, the Senate has found Dallas Dufockle not guilty on Article 1 and Article 3, but the Senate has found Dallas Dufockle guilty on Article 2. With that being said, Dallas Dufockle, upon the judgment of the Senate, Dallas Dufockle will be removed from the office of President of the American Gaming Group effective immediately. With this being said, the business of this trial is now concluded. The Senate stands adjourned. Thank you. Court is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Dufockle, please stand by. There's some things that we have to do. Mr. Griffin, I need you to stand by as well. There's something that we need to do as well.
For the